This episode is brought to you by
Co-creation.
Welcome to Leadership Actually. It's not love, it's leadership.
Yeah.
Welcome, Lisa Pony.
Welcome, Lee Rogers. How the devil are you?
Good.
Did
really
you stay
good.
up for the match?
Of course I did. Yes, I did. And we'll see where we get to.
We'll see where we get. It's exciting times though, isn't it?
Exciting times. So let's, just loving football actually. I love it when you get home and you go on BBC or ITV and you've got football.
Yeah,
It's
football
fucker.
fest.
And like even Ella's been watching football. I'm loving it. Mandy even watched half of a match.
Wow, I've been watching it because, Freddie wasn't into football at all. And then he's just converted, he's got the football cards and he knows all the players. He tells me 10 facts every morning, as well as Michael Jackson, all the players. So who's his favourite player? To his dad's probably thing, his dad's an Everton fan, and I said, who are you going to be after this? And he said, I'm not sure, might be Man United.
Yes,
And we are, so I'm not sure his dad would be happy about that.
That's all right. We've got a line now. We can,
There we are. He's going to take over, isn't he? So viewing, so on the podcast.
So other than that, other than the football world, what's going on for you?
What's going on for me? Have I got any faddy things? I like to talk about fad. Well, still doing quiet. But for my birthday, I asked my sisters to buy me a Reformer Pilates bed. Do you know what that is?
Yes. No, I haven't got a clue. I was going to try and wing it.
Chai Chong, you said I did last time. So I thought I'd give that a go.
Pilates is solid though, isn't
It
it?
is solid. I mean, to be honest, I've only just taken it out of the box and it's a good few weeks and I don't know where to put all the straps. So when I sort that out, then I'll get on it. So that'll be my next fad. What about you? What have you been doing?
Since I've done the bike ride,
Yeah.
I had an indoor bike that I was training on, and that's now got to go into the garage.
Oh.
So I've got to do the whole declutter the garage to then get the indoor bike in the garage.
Oh.
So
How's that going to take?
it's probably a very short task in relative terms, but I'm sure it'll take a lot longer. But I am going to sort it. I'll figure it out. And then, just some exciting stuff with my own organisation and then with co-creation that I'm really, really looking forward to. And we love what we do.
Yeah.
So to have the privilege to go and work with leaders genuinely it's really fulfilling, it's really rewarding. And I'm really looking forward to like a season and a prolonged element of working with some exceptional leaders.
Absolutely. We've got some exciting stuff coming up together, haven't we? So that'll be really good. With co-creation, lots of community stuff and client stuff and our podcast stuff. So, it's going to be a good summer, I think.
And can I just publicly say, the co-creation team after the bike ride, blew me away.
Yeah.
Honestly,
so
they were so kind, so caring. Everybody reached out and sent messages. And then Dave Harrison, who sponsors a podcast, even then got me a cake. And I've still got the silhouette of the cyclist. And you know what? It's sometimes those tiny little things that make a huge impact and a huge amount of difference.
They do.
So I was really, really grateful. And I'm going to meet the charity next week. And I can't wait to go and reach out to them and go and speak to them and see what a difference and impact it makes.
How much did you raise?
So it's around £9,000.
That's phenomenal.
And we're just waiting for the final fund matching to come in, and that is beyond my wildest dreams. We had a £5,000 target, and I think people just see me in pain.
Yeah, definitely.
And crashing and falling off bikes and it being a real struggle, but people have been so generous. Yeah. I can't thank them enough.
I loved it that when you fell off, I didn't love that you fell off, but within 50 minutes you fell off your bike and you sent me a photo of your bruise and I had to go back, what am I looking at?
You're
I
the
have no
only...
clue of what part of you I was looking at.
I think you were the only person I sent that photo to, like genuinely, because I was very embarrassed about it. It was on my arm.
It was not on. I didn't know that, no.
And it didn't show for like 2-3 days. And actually, so you have loads of pain and nothing to show for it. And then the pain like disappears a little bit, and then you've got this big whacking bruise. So I felt a bit of a fraud, if I'm honest.
Well, we will do a podcast on your bike ride because I know it changed you, but
Yeah, it did.
absolutely.
But I don't think you can see. I have got cycling socks on
You
today.
have?
I've only just noticed as I
Cycling
look
socks,
down
and
there.
do they match?
They do today.
That's really good. You're in ship shape then. I love that. Well, shall we introduce our guest?
Genuinely, I'm really excited about today. This is absolutely a passion topic for me today.
Yes, definitely. And me. Hi, Seb.
Hello.
Seb Stillwell. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you.
Good.
Were you watching the match last night?
I was, yeah. I was a bit gutted when it was delayed, to be fair. I was
Yeah.
like, 1 o'clock's late enough. Because they were going to change it, weren't they, to 7 o'clock?
Yeah.
I was like, why didn't they just do that? That would have been so much easier for everyone. But yeah, it was great. It was definitely worth staying up for. It was brilliant.
Absolutely.
No
we
way
learned
not.
lots from that.
Once in a lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%, yeah. Quarterfinals.
I know. And being a bit of a footballer and referee yourself, we'll ask you some questions, I think, in that
Yeah,
area.
why not? Absolutely.
But I'm going to give you your official introduction, and then we'll find out a little bit more about you,
Okay.
if that's all right.
That's okay.
So, Seb, today's guest is a little bit different. For the first time on Leadership, actually, we're joined by someone who isn't leading a team, running a business, or sitting in the boardroom. Instead, we're speaking to someone who represents the generation today's leaders are trying to attract, engage, and inspire. At 21, Seb Stillwell has already made some big decisions. Like many people in their 20s, you've been exploring what the right path looks like for you. After starting university, you took some time to gain life and work experience before beginning the next chapter studying global politics. Is that right?
Yeah.
Alongside that, you are a football player and referee, and that gives you a unique perspective on teamwork, accountability, fairness, and decision making. We haven't invited you, Seb, because you've got all the answers, although we'd love that. We've invited you because your generation will shape the future, and we think leaders need to spend more time listening to the people they're leading. So today isn't about you speaking for an entire generation, because that would be a big accountability, but it's about hearing your honest perspective on leadership, work, politics, and what you hope to see from the leaders of tomorrow. How's that as an intro?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, it was really good.
Is that a big ask?
Yeah, it was pretty big ask, but it's okay, isn't it? Definitely haven't got all the answers. I wish I did as well. Definitely not, no. 100%.
Well, we normally start this podcast with the messy class, so it isn't perfection. We're not trying to go out there and say we know how to do things. So we start with the messy question, if that's all right.
Okay.
So we've got one for you.
Yeah.
Before we get into leadership or politics or your generation or anything we want to talk about, life in your 20s is full of firsts, changes and figuring things out. Looking back over the last few years, what's one experience that shaped who you are becoming?
I think going from, I went to uni first year, so I went out of sixth form straight into uni.
Yeah.
And then wasn't for me, and then I started working full time. I think working like Monday to Friday, 40 odd hours a week is probably something that changed me. Like getting into more of a routine,
Yeah.
getting back into the routine. Something that I've worked out is a lot better for me, rather than, getting up at like 2 o'clock after you've been drinking. You've actually got...
We remember them. The distance now.
You've got something to like go and do every day. Wake up similar time, go to bed a similar time, and that definitely helps with everything, mental health, physical health, all of it. So getting back into the routine, I'd say. Yeah,
absolutely. And do you mind me asking why you started uni and then finished and went into made that decision?
Yeah, it was the course partly, well, mainly the course, to be fair. It wasn't really what I was expecting. I didn't really enjoy a lot of the topics. It was very far more scientifically based than I thought it would be, rather than based around theory. Yeah, it wasn't the best experience. I didn't feel, and there was no point carrying it on. I felt like I was done. So, thought I'd got a job at the time. I was working part time. I knew that I could just take more hours on, sort of take a little bit more time to really evaluate what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go, rather than just sticking with something that I just wasn't enjoying at all.
Yeah.
So that was it.
I'm really inspired by that, Seb, because that must take huge courage to, because we almost get on this education treadmill a little bit. I know I certainly did. So to have the courage and the foresight to then challenge yourself and go, actually, even though it's not the conventional thing to do, maybe it's seen as weakness or failure, to have the courage to be that self-aware, that is hugely inspiring.
Yeah. Thank you. At the time it was a tricky decision because obviously all the people around you, but yeah, I think it was the right one. I definitely feel a lot better than I did in that year now, and coming out and going back in with a lot more enthusiasm. Knowing that I need to be in a routine, getting myself into a routine again, which will definitely help me. Do better this time, basically do a lot better than I did in the first year, so hopefully that'll be good.
And what's made you make that decision to go back and also to study what you're studying?
I want to go back because I do want to get a degree. I feel like it's quite a flexible degree as well. I'm doing politics with international relations, so it's like dual honours, and it's something that I follow anyway, quite into it. Only recently really, I wasn't really into it when I was in like high school. But it's really interesting looking at the topics within the course. It's very based around what's happening now. You can focus it back on what's happening now, and I mean there's a lot happening now, so
there is.
So that'll be very interesting. I think I definitely wanted to get a degree coming out of sixth form, doing A-levels. That was always something that I've foreseen for myself, and it's not too late, so just go and get it done, basically. Go and do it. It's something that I really enjoy.
Great. So going back to your world of work, maybe that first, what was and you said you learnt a lot about, discipline and getting into a routine.
Yeah.
What is it like, stepping into that world of work, and was it what you expected? What have you learnt from it? What did you like or dislike, in terms of coming into work at that age?
Yeah, it was... It's good. I don't really know what I was expecting. I don't think I went in with any expectations for it when I started working. It was just, right, this is what I've got to do, and obviously picking up more hours was good. Aspects that I like working within, there's like a team aspect of it where you're not just working for yourself, you work for other people as well, because if you don't do something, it's got to get done, so someone else is going to have to do it. I love the people that I work with. There's a good mixture of professionalism and fun. Work. I'd say my favourite aspect of it is working with the team and getting to know the people that you're working with, which obviously makes it a lot easier for you to then just get on with it and have a bit of fun while you're at it. Yeah.
Did you learn anything about, this is a leadership podcast, or leading or managing, which in the future, when you finish your degree, that you go into the world of work that you would be looking for in a workplace and in terms of leadership?
I think in terms of leading, I think you've always got to lead by example, whether that be through, it doesn't need to be necessarily like said, it doesn't need to be just doing what you're doing to the best of your ability, and everyone around you can see that then. So rather than trying to lead by talking to people, just doing what you're doing can sometimes be even more effective, because obviously there's people there with way more experience than me. Obviously you come in and it might be a little bit intimidating, but if you're watching people in whatever field doing a really good job and just knuckling down, getting it done, that can sometimes be better than trying to lead through just talking to people.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, and seeing them in action.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting that, because actually, you know, we've had some guests on that, you know, for leaders, they would take more of a helicopter view, right? And they would almost observe behaviours or what's going on, and might impart some knowledge or some observations, maybe have a conversation, and are less in the do of a role or an activity.
Yeah,
and it depends on your environment, right?
Yeah.
But I guess there's different styles of leadership that will come through. Is there anything that you've already said, you know, by watching people, would you say that's your preferred learning style and method?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Because you can, like, you've got like visual learning or something being explained to you. I'd say definitely just observing someone doing something rather than trying to explain it to me. Yeah, I would definitely say that's how I learn best. And I think that's the best way of doing it as well. Sometimes just sitting back and watching people rather than you know, bothering them about it, basically, like, how would you do it, or what are you doing, and how do I do it better? You just watch them do it and just do your best, really. Is exactly what I do.
And in terms of the world of work, is there anything in particular that will be important for you or the people around you, your generation? So, you know, sometimes it used to be, maybe it would be salary or flexibility or security. What sort of things are really important to you or that you're seeing?
I think just wanting to go to work every day. I think, you know, there's a lot of people that aren't exactly happy and, you know, doing what they're doing. I think salary obviously is important, but I'd rather be on less money and being motivated to get up and go to work and enjoying what I'm doing, rather than being like, right, well, I can go and get a job that pays a lot better, but actually is miserable all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think waking up, feeling like you've got a purpose, and you're doing something good and that you enjoy is definitely the most important thing over anything else when it comes to work, really.
And I guess that some of the things that we're hearing actually from generation coming through, that purpose-led and enjoyment is a really important driver, more than some of the other generation. We're learning that actually from that generation. So as we get asked that question a lot, you know, how do we, what are the new generations, you're one of those coming through in work, what is it like to be 21?
What's it like to be 21?
Yeah.
I think it's a mixed bag, really. It's probably a lot different from, you know, when other people were 21, I guess. Like when you were 21, it was a completely different world, you know, with stuff like social media. And obviously, you know, things like the cost of living crisis, stuff like that is completely different. I mean, people are going out a lot less than they would have done. You know, 20, 30 years ago. Yeah. So yeah, I don't really know, to be fair. What's it like to be 21? I don't really think about it, just go with the flow. Yeah, I guess it's difficult. Like everyone has their challenges. Yeah, I don't really know.
What about do you think there's anything that maybe the older generations assume or misjudge about your generations? Is there anything in there that comes through?
I think there's certain brandings, like get branded as lazy sometimes by like, or rude. Rude's a big one, where like older people think that, you know, the younger generation are rude or lazy. Yeah, I've heard that. I don't think I've ever heard it like personally, but you hear that, you know, the youth today are just lazy. You know, they don't get up and don't go and, you know, do, rather than just sit behind a laptop all day and just. But yeah, I think that's a misconception, to be fair. I don't think a whole generation can just be lazy. I think that's quite a silly viewpoint.
Yeah, because to back that up from a political angle, I guess, you know, there's more higher unemployment for 18 to 24-year-olds right now, and therefore, you know, even having the opportunity, as you talked about, to have a purpose, to get up, to get doing work, is actually harder than it's possibly ever been.
Yeah.
You know, and I can't remember the exact stats, I'm not going to quote them, but I know it's a high percentage.
Yeah, very high.
And therefore, having gone to university, maybe having taken on some debt, how do you feel about you going back to university? Do you ever think about that? Does that come into your career planning?
What, the debt?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is something that I think about, really. Yeah, because obviously you take it's like £9,000 a year. So I've done 4 years, so that'd be 36. Obviously with interest on that, and then the maintenance loans and stuff would probably be another like maybe 15, 16 grand. It is something that I think about. I try not to, because it's like it feels pointless to think about that. But yeah, because it's going to be a lot of money to pay back, really. I think it's probably too much, to be fair. But it's just something that comes with the territory of going to university, and you obviously know about it. But you try to push it to the back of your mind and try and not think about all the money you've got to pay back eventually. Because you know that you're only going to pay it back once you've got enough money to even pay it back in the first place. So, and it just comes out anyway. You don't have to pay it, so it feels a little bit better. You're not sitting down and sending it to someone, and it's like, oh God, all that money's coming out. But yeah, it is something that I think about, and it's something that I thought about with going back in, because it was right. Well, am I going to want all this debt when I'm 26, 27, and hopefully I'll have like a stable job by then? And do I really want to be paying that back? But I think in the long term, I think it works out better to do that, 100%.
So there's a lot going on in the world, and there's a lot of things to navigate being 21. But what gives you hope for the future? What's kind of, you're at the start of that trajectory. What do you hope to see?
Gives me hope. There's a lot of things, to be fair. I think I think the new generation coming through has got a lot of talent. They've got a lot to give, especially a lot of people I know who have chosen to go a certain way, and they know exactly what they want to do, and they've gone into that specific. They've gone to university and they've studied like something very specific, because like fashion, because they know that that's what they want to do. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of people with a lot to give. I think it's a different mindset from what would have been 10, 15 years ago, but I think it has to be, because the world's just completely different now. What gives me hope? Not really sure, to be fair. There's probably loads. just can't think of any.
I think the big one around people being talented, and there's a lot to give in the world. I think that is a massive hope, and that people are more purposeful about thinking about their career and what they want, when they're kind of being more specific. Whereas, a lot of us entered our university days, I know I did, with I hadn't a clue where I was going, but I got on a degree and, just followed that boat. And actually, I always say, the biggest thing is that first job after university, and if you can be really purposeful about that, because that lands you and navigates you to where you're going to be for a good number of years often. So I think it's a really great thing that people have, are having that much more purposeful way of looking at the world.
Especially if you can get one straight away after uni, go straight into a job, because the difficulty is that you go to uni, you get a degree, and then it's like, well, where's my experience? I haven't got any experience, and then people are looking for experience. So I applied for a job. It was like a degree level apprenticeship at the council, and I was like really looking forward to it. I was like, did everything that I needed to do, applied, and then obviously didn't get an interview or anything. But through the process, it seemed like they wanted experience. They wanted somebody that had already got a degree and had shown that they were willing to, put the time in to then go and get a degree. So I think it's a difficult thing to balance with getting, work experience, because obviously everyone wants to hire people with experience, but also then having the degree behind you. I think that's a really difficult balance, definitely now anyway.
Yeah, I think we hear that, people who've come out of university and then, trying to find that first job, and they haven't got that experience. So it is a balance that you probably have to think about earlier than you would have normally. But you're going to go into politics. What were you hoping, or what are you hoping to achieve or make a difference in that space by jumping into that area?
I think it's just like a really strange place now, isn't it? Politics. I wasn't really into it until maybe lockdown, It was probably lockdown that got me in, when Boris was throwing all them parties. I was pretty fuming about that. But yeah, what am I hoping to get out of it? I think it's a really strange place, like I said. It feels like there can't be much more going wrong at the minute within it. It feels like there needs to be more. People need to be more personable. It feels like, you watch an interview of, politicians, and it feels like it's scripted and their answers are all the same, and they're all, not really answering the questions, and it's impossible for the public to know what they're actually like. It's like, if you look at like people like Zoran Mamdani, who is the mayor of New York, he's come in with a completely different attitude towards politics, and that's sort of inspiring, really, because he's very personable and he answers the questions, and it feels like he's got a personality, where you're looking at other politicians and they don't really seem to be able to feel free enough to, be a little bit controversial and, make big decisions. And that's what it's all about, is making the big decisions and being able to be the leader that then, does make those decisions and taking the risks that are needed, because it's been going pretty bad for a while now. So, yeah. And he's got a lot of support, and he continues to get a lot of support. So he's definitely someone that I look to as a really good leader over in America anyway. Yeah.
Can I ask a cheeky question that's just come in my head then? So if you were Prime Minister for a month, what would be your 30-day priorities and plan in those 30 days?
I think wealth inequality right now is a big issue. That's a large thing that someone like Zoran Mamdani is looking to change. It feels like, you've got the people with money that you can't even imagine having, and then people that can barely even feed their children. And it's really not fair. So you've got to look at, taxation, higher taxation for those that have those amounts of money that are just ridiculous. What else would I do? I'd take a look at obviously it feels like sometimes there's a lot of pressure to come out of high school and sixth form and go into university rather than going into like a skills-based job. It feels like there's a lot of pressure to go to university, and really there shouldn't be. It should be a case of actually, well, there's a lot of opportunities to go and get apprenticeships. There should be more opportunities to get apprenticeships and go into, jobs like electricians or plumbers or, gas men that actually pay pretty well, and we need a lot more people to go into those fields. So I think there needs to be more of a focus on going into different areas, rather than the focus being on, right, you need to go to university and you need to get a degree, and then you need to, it feels like there's a lot of pressure around that, where really there should be more avenues to be able to go into and look at your future in that way. So that's probably something that I'd focus on. I don't know how I'd do it, but I don't really need to at the minute, do I? So it's all right.
Definitely not. Well, I'm already signed up to that manifesto. I think, the things I've heard which are really important is you're looking for, global leaders or politicians to be more personable. Yeah. That human, that real element is really important. And that probably links to purpose, that drive to show that, I think is really important. And at the moment we're not getting that, and it feels scripted. And so I can definitely see that. I think the ability to make decisions, but that adaptability, that because it's such an uncertain world, and as you said, it feels like that everything's broken, so be able to really make some progress and make those big decisions. But that, as you said, the third one means taking risks, and everybody, it feels like sometimes trying to cover all angles rather than stepping forward and taking some of those big risks. So we look forward to you doing that. And I think those two areas are really good grounding, in terms of fairness around wealth and equality and social policy. I think that some things need to change in that space, and you can seize that. And the how is massive, how do you do that? And education, I think, you're right, like less people probably are benefiting from the education of going through degrees, actually,
Yeah.
a master's. So if people are a bit more pointed about what they want, there's a whole other economy of people and jobs that, as you said, pay well, and we absolutely need it, you know,
Yeah.
and there's a shortfall of those. So to help people see some of those opportunities, I think it will be fantastic. So let's fast forward to when you're able to do some of those things.
Yeah.
But we know we need more of those leaders in this space. And I'm really pleased that you're going into those topics.
Yeah.
Well, one reflection I've just had there, and I think it's super important, and when you look at the history of this, is it's really important that you've got young people that are interested in politics.
Yeah.
Actually, and it seems to me that there is equally, you know, when you were talking about your degree choice, you said, well, it didn't meet my expectations. You know, you're putting a lot of money, a lot of investment on the line. There's a slightly different psychological contract with actually the expectations and the demand that young people should have on institutions and what it gives them back if they're investing so much. And I know, you know, a lot of focus and area is built on a better education. What's made you the person you are? What, you know, if people are voting for you in 5 years' time, why would they trust Seb? What's the fabric of you as an individual?
I'm not sure really. I feel like I've got quite a good moral compass in terms of, you know, a lot of. I feel like I can see things from different people's point of view. I try to like zoom out, if you say, like see it from both sides. I've got quite a lot of like empathy and sympathy. I feel like that's needed. Because you need to be able to, you know, look up and look down in society and see, right, well, something's wrong. But yeah, why would people vote for me? I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty trustworthy, but you can't. There's no way of showing that, is there? Really? Yeah, strong morality, empathy, sympathy. Yeah, I'd say those are the pillars. I'd say.
Yeah, some real human qualities
Yeah.
in there, calling to a human element. And it's absolutely needed. It's absolutely needed in that space.
Yeah,
I know
it is.
you, so I can stand for that. Definitely all those traits. And a really strong moral compass. You always have. And you just know how to connect with people. Like you talk. I think the simple thing is you like to have conversations with people.
Yeah.
You connect. Whatever age, I've seen you in lots of different scenarios from a very young age to now.
Yeah.
You know, you might not know most of the people, but you make some kind of connection. You kind of find out, you ask the right questions.
Yeah.
You're interested, you're curious about what people say, what they stand for. You ask, you know, about their background. And I think that then becomes the empathy and the sympathy and the personable bit. But I think you have to have a genuine curiosity for people.
You do.
And you have to have a genuine care for people. And then you can apply some of those, the moral compass to some of that as well. So, and I think the other thing I've seen is you're very adaptable with your thinking, you know, as well. You know, that you might have a particular view, but once you've listened and understood other people's views, then you are open to kind of go, well, maybe that needs to shift or change.
Yeah, 100%.
And
I
that's
think it's
really
important to have conversations with people you disagree with more than it is with people you agree with. Because I feel like that's something that's going on at the minute, is like people aren't really talking about the things that they disagree about. And it feels like there's a lot of people, you know, they're watching certain or listening to certain people talk, and then the other people are listening to other people talk. But then they're not talking about, you know, what they think, because they feel like they're going to clash.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't be how it is. You know, you can have a conversation with someone that you disagree with without it then turning negative. You've got to have conversations with people you disagree with. And even if you do, you know, you can't come to an agreement at all, that's okay as well, because I think it's really important to have those conversations, especially now, to be fair, now more than ever, 100%.
Yeah, and you know, we talk about it a lot. There's people face lots of different things in life, but conversation is often the most frightening thing, or the thing that people avoid most, whatever they've gone through in life. It's you know, it's such a phenomenon. You know, there's like dying, presentations, conversation, or you know, and those three are the top things that people fear the most. And if we can help people have more of that, a curious conversation, you know, and as you said, talk to people. That's diversity, isn't it? Talking to people that you might not necessarily agree with or understand their world, and try and get a bit closer. I think that is the way that you can move things forward. One of the challenging topics actually that's come up here, because we've had a number of people who talked about male allies. So what's it like to be a man or a young man in this world? Has that had any impact on you? Have you had any thoughts about how that is positioned right now?
Yeah, I think, you know, there are some really negative male role models out there. You know, you look at people like Andrew Tate, who's just, you know, a terrible role model for men. And it feels like people have been going towards like Andrew Tate. I think the media have portrayed him as bigger than he is. I don't think, maybe that's my side of social media, but I think there's been like a real big, he's been a massive talking point, whereas I don't think he's quite as influential as the media make out that he is. And you've got people like that are huge on TikTok, like HS TikTok, for example, who's pretty similar, just misogynists really. And they're definitely negative male role models. But I think there's definitely there's more positive male role models than there are negatives out there. I don't think it's any different than it has been really to be a man now. Just think you've got to have your morals, and you've got to stand by them. And well, if they're positive, that is. If they're negative, then you should throw them away. But I think it can be difficult, definitely. But I think you just got to sit by what you believe in and just go that way. Really.
And it's interesting around like social media. I mean, you mentioned a TikToker, and I didn't know them, right? So all of a sudden when people say that, and you go, okay, I know, certainly with Ella, I'd be interested with Fred. They go on YouTube or TikTok, and people have got, because of the followship, they've got influence, irrespective of what their views are. And my gripe at the moment actually is around YouTube, because everything she watches is product placement. So all of a sudden you've got, you know, kids want to purchase lots of different things because everything they watch, everything's endorsed, because one family that have got a huge number of following keep getting sent lots of stuff. That's not the real world. In the same way, there's lots about, you know, the Andrew Tates in the world that doesn't represent the real world, in my humble opinion. And therefore, but the element of social media with huge followings and influences, there is an element of the disagreement that you're talking about. So I love the fact you're bringing in the fact of to have the conversation with people, whether you like it or not, that go, well, why is that not right in your view? Why does that not impact your moral compass, or where should you tweak and change? Because we've all made mistakes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
No one's got it all right all the time.
Exactly. It'd be interesting to have the conversation. It's like, what do you see in these people that that you like? Because that's what you've got to get to the bones of, I guess. Because that's the only way we can change it. Really, is actually, well, what do you see in him that that attracts you to him? And I wouldn't know the answer, but it'd be interesting to hear it, because you've got to hear it to then make that change. You can't just sit back and think about these people as negatives. You've got to then have the conversation with them. Right, why are you attracted to this individual? And that's the only way that change can come about, really.
And just to share, I may have shared it before, but because I remember going to the United match, and it was the end of the game, and all the players were walking around the pitch to like clap and applaud, and I'm like adulation of these footballers. And my nephew had taken with his mates, or went, oh, there's Angry Ginge, can we go?
Yeah.
Right. So they ran round the pitch to get a picture with Angry Ginge, who's an influencer on social media.
Yeah.
Not the footballers who are representing Man United. And my head was like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Like, I genuinely couldn't get my head around it. And if I'm really honest, and I do know now, I didn't really know who Angry Ginge was at that time, and wouldn't have known him if he'd walked past me. Yeah. Now all of a sudden, that's what I mean about influence. But you're pointing there around, well, why do you like these people? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Often it's about because they've got a number, or they've got a huge influence anyway. So they're influential, and therefore I'm attracted to them in some way.
and they've got a Lamborghini, and they've got 3 Bugattis, and they're different colours, and
on that day, maybe.
Yeah, I know. No, talking about Angry Ginger, to be fair, he's quite a good male role model, I think. He's massive. Obviously, he went on into the jungle. He won I'm a Celebrity. I think he came across really well there as well. He's got a good sense of humour. But actually, recently at the World Cup, he was streaming. So I think he was on Twitch or Kick, one of those. And he actually was trying to get someone kicked out who he accused of racial abuse.
Yeah.
So that's, you're watching this guy and he's standing up against racism.
Yeah.
And it was at the Ghana game, England-Ghana. And that's massive. That's brilliant. You need to root it out. And I don't think they kicked him out in the end, which is a disgrace, to be fair. But, someone like that doing something that's good with so many people watching. So that's a great role model.
And that's a great tool, isn't it? That's kind of spinning it, that says we see a lot of negativity about social media, and we see it, but actually if we can use it in a positive way, it can really make a difference. Yeah. And we can't go without saying football. Football's always been a passion in your life. You play football.
I do.
To a great standard, and you referee as well.
I do, yeah.
What do you think football and refereeing has taught you about leadership or life? What kind of lessons have you learned from that, and why did you do it, I suppose?
Obviously, my granddad, my dad, my uncle, everyone around me always loved football, so I grew up around it. Always support Stoke, which is very difficult, to be honest. It's pretty hard. The emotional journey that takes you on. Playing. I played since I was like 6 to now. I think it's something. It's really important to have like a passion, a hobby. And it's obviously really, really good for you, running around, keeping fit, keeping mentally well. It helps you with that as well. It's a lot of fun. It always has been, but it also teaches you, I'm quite competitive. I want to win, no matter what you're really doing. I definitely want to win, but it's about balancing that. It's got to be a healthy desire to win rather than, being nasty, like you see a lot of the time. Yeah. What's it taught me? To be fair, it's leadership's really important in football. I've had quite a few good captains now going into the team that I'm playing for now. And you go in and it's like an 18-year-old, and then you're surrounded by like 32, 33-year-old men that have played for the team for like 16 years themselves. It's a pretty intimidating environment to go into, but it's interesting to observe their methods of leadership. And like I said before, really, they don't do anything extravagant. They lead from the front, basically. You observe what they're doing, and they're working their hardest every game, and they really care about what they're doing, and that's inspiring, and makes you want to work hard because of that team aspect of we're all in this together and we're all going towards the same thing, which is really important. So it's taught me, that it's important to win, and trying to find methods that are consistently work that you can then apply to every individual game. Yeah.
There's loads to learn from that. And, in terms of leadership lessons, that's going to take you far. We have a lot of people that come in from the world of sport, and, there's such alignment between sport and business if you apply that. Yeah. What about from a referee point of view? So watching some of the matches, not everybody's going to agree with your decisions. No. And there's a lot of pressure and a lot of, finger pointing and shouting. Yeah. How have you been able to deal with that from quite a young age?
It was definitely nerve-wracking going in. I think I started when I was like 16, 17, reffing anywhere from, 6 to like 16-year-old lads mainly, sometimes girls. And I mean, when you're reffing them at 6, you're more like babysitting them, to be fair. It's like, they've started crying and you've got to let the parents come on, and it's like, just looking at the clock like, oh my God, I won't go home. But when you're reffing like 13, 14-year-old boys, it's completely different because it's difficult because there's so many different aspects to it. You've got to deal with, the parents who sometimes, they go through loads of emotions. They're watching if their, son gets hurt, or, they're losing and they're losing their heads, and you've made a wrong decision, and it's all piling on. And then the coaches as well, who are obviously, they're really passionate, and sometimes that passion can spill over into rage all the time, which is pretty difficult to deal with. But it taught me a lot. I mean, it really did teach me a lot, and it's definitely a difficult environment to work within. But I felt pretty confident going towards the end. I used to be nervous when I'd be driving into ref, but now I wasn't after a little bit. I was quite looking forward to it, which is good. Which is really good. Yeah, it was good.
I've definitely been in those situations, and it definitely teaches you a lot on how to apply yourself in different situations, for sure. We could talk all day, but sadly, we're coming to the end.
Oh my gosh, already.
It's absolutely flown by. Really inspiring. I love talking about like talent and future talent, and I think you've just articulated some of the things that are going on, some of the things that you're looking forward to, your hopes and ambitions. Like it's really exciting stuff. Final reflection for you, Lisa?
Well, Seb, I think we're in good hands. If you can put into place and and really keep that moral compass, those lessons that you learn, that taking that into university and then taking that into your jobs for life, and never lose that personable impact. Never ever before has it been so important. We talk about the human side of leadership more on this podcast than any other trait. And maybe 10 years ago that wouldn't be the same thing. So it is definitely needed. Now is the time for that, and it wouldn't have always been that place. So I think you can really thrive in this place, and it's been a real inspiration. You are an inspiration, and thank you so much for coming in.
No, thank you for
even
having
after
me.
a late night.
Yeah.
Final question from me.
Yeah.
Who should we have in the hot seat where you are now that you would find really inspiring for our listeners?
That I know, or can it be anyone that I know? Can I say my mom?
Of course you can.
She's one of the hardest working people I know. She took a really big decision when I was about 9 to go back to university to become a teacher, which is something that she'd always wanted to do. And she's absolutely thriving now. She's at a school that she loves, and she's really passionate, and it's such a difficult job. And being a teacher is one of the most important jobs within society. I mean, teaching the kids of the next generation, not only teaching them, but academically, but teaching them how to be a good person. And it's definitely difficult, and it has been stressful at times, but she's fought through it, and she's doing what she loves now. So she'd be a great conversation.
She absolutely would.
So
I know how to get Laura, definitely. And she is an absolute inspiration. I can advocate for that. So great shout.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, everybody, for listening and to watch this along the way. As ever, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time on Leadership Actually.
Thank you.